Well, I wanted to start even earlier. I wanted to ask you about your parents. What you remember about your parents?
Had good parents, mom and dad.
Yeah? Well, tell me about them. I've never heard anything really about them that I can
Well, there's
remember.
pictures on the wall. Did you ever see my dad? He was from the trolley car back in his day.
Okay.
In the city, Northeast Loop. And my mom was a very active evangelical, we always called her Libby, in the soup kitchen. Whenever there was a soup sale or something, she was the one they got to make the soup and the beans and da-da-da. She was very active in the church. And my dad, both singers, and my sister, and me.
You're a singer.
All four sang, yeah. Yeah, that was years ago.
Hi, my name's Ryan Sands, and this is my grandfather, Oliver Lloyd Sands Jr., or Ollie, as he is better known. I sat down with him at his home nestled on a hill in Mount Penn, Pennsylvania, on July 7th, 2013. It had been on my mind for some time, this idea of an interview to capture his life and experiences, much of which I knew nothing of. I really enjoyed it. I hope you will too. Let's start from the beginning. Ollie was born October 7th, 1928 in Reading, Pennsylvania, to Oliver Lloyd Sr. and Alice Elizabeth Kutz.
Yeah. My mom's always fooling around with mom and dad. Pulling these suspenders or something.
Joking him?
Yeah, yeah. They were good parents. They were good. I had a good parents.
That's good.
They kept me in line.
Yeah?
See, there's my dad. That was my dad. See, that's from my dad when he was younger. When he was in his gay 90s, he used to say. See, look at the derby he had on. And there's my mom. When I think that was Rick and Brady there. I think that was Ricky was getting married up even. Mom was bailing a little bit. And they stopped him with all the cars and everything on Hoskins Place. And my mom was tickled to death that they went in to see her. Yeah, that was nice.
How old were you when they passed?
Well, Mom passed away when she was 91. My dad passed away before my mom. I think Dad was about 78, I believe, when he passed away. And I can't remember the years, but I don't know. Look at the pictures now. That'll give you some idea.
Okay, so
Now there you are. You said about my baby. That's when I was a baby. Don't ask me how old I was. But that's... And there I am with my bicycle. I was going to my music lesson. I used to play the piano. You don't know that.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't want to. It was my mom's idea. And my dad said, look, the kid don't want to play the piano. He wants to go out playing sports. He don't want to play a piano. They used to give me $1, and every week I'd go over to my minister's daughter, and I'd take practice. I like music. But if she'd had decent music, she always wanted to play, always scales and music that I didn't like. So one day, I just didn't go over one week, and then she told her father, the minister, they used to call me Junior. Junior wasn't in for his lesson. And the first thing they told my mom, and my mom told my dad, and my dad said, that's it. That was when times, hey, I'm going back to, it'd be in the early 30s, like. Well, no, it was in the 40s. It was before I was in the service. Anyway, that was it then. That was my end of my musical career. Hey, don't know what though, to this day I regret that. I love to play, I wish I could play the piano. I could play it, but I couldn't
So what about grade school? What do you remember from there?
I'm having trouble getting into trouble. That's all I can remember.
How were the
You know where my mom
schools?
lived? You ever take down Hoskins' place? You know where my mom lived, don't you?
I know where Hoskins Place is. I don't think we've ever driven the kids up there and
Then
told them
you
where
well,
they
you know,
were.
you remember 16th and Hawk back in your day? That's where I went to grade school. Remember they ripped the school down?
Yeah.
So how was the schooling set up back then? You went to one schoolhouse for how long?
Oh yeah, to 6th grade.
To 6th?
And from then I went to for 7th grade. I went to the junior high, just like you people do now, don't you?
Not quite. We go 1 through 5th, then we switch schools 6th through 8th, then we switch schools 9 through 12.
Oh, well we switched it at 7th, 8th, and 9th as junior, and then from 10th, 11th, and 12th as senior.
Oh, okay.
That's how we did it. That's about what.
Pretty close, yeah.
And that's when I was pretty. That was my school days. And which I
Do you,
I forgot about it almost. Most of them passed away. A lot of my friends, a lot of my friends passed away. Yeah, I remember. There's some of them. But I wasn't never active in school. As soon as that bell rang, I was allowed to Pandora.
what's that?
That's where they had the field house, and that's where we played basketball, football, tennis, any kind of sport. It was our sports place.
Hmm.
And it was about 3 blocks away from where my mom and dad lived. That's where I hung out at for a good many years. When my mom wanted me, she used to call a janitor out there, the maintenance man, and they'd tell me, hey, your mom's waiting for you, so.
So you had
A birthmark, they called it a birthmark years ago. Now, it's not real big. It might be maybe a half an inch. Maybe a little bit. I remember like that. But this is a story. And I was our next door neighbor with my mother. And years ago, people used to die, and the mortician would come in and everything, and they'd be buried from their house. My mom and dad weren't like that, but this Helen Hart, I remember the name. Anyway, and they told my mom about it, and mom was into it a little bit. And they took me over, and they got, I guess, his finger, what finger, and he touched it. They think his body was first still warm, I don't know. But he touched me. They put his hand and moved it up to this birth, and he touched it. And they claimed in a couple of weeks, the birthmark disappeared.
So this guy was...
He was dead.
Oh, he was dead.
Yeah, that's right. But he see me, like his body was still warm. See, maybe they didn't. I don't know. This is what rumors are. And my mom. But then everybody, all the relation. I had a lot of relation from my mother had 3 sisters and 2 brothers. My mother had a big family. And then they spread it around, and boy, all East Reading was, boy, powwow, powwow. Everybody was going to the powwow to get their things, anybody had an infection or something.
He had it touched by the dead
Yeah,
guy?
touched by the powwow man. But this is what the powwow man told my mother, that if you have somebody that just passed away in a few, not right at the minute, but look, maybe, I don't know what the time was. But that's what they did. His name was DeHart, Harold DeHart. He was an elderly man.
Hmm.
And this might have been, in the late 30s maybe. That's me. See them suspenders?
Yeah.
And that's my dog, Blackie.
Blackie, huh?
That was the backyard of my mom.
What
Yeah.
kind of dog was that? I can't...
Scotty. They're good dogs. I always had a dog when I was at home. And we had you don't remember Toxie. You don't remember Trina, do you?
No.
We had her for 15 years.
Was that the dog painted on the
That's Trina.
water?
Yeah.
What is that? The water heater or something? Or
That's the oil tank.
Okay.
My wife Joyce came down. What are you doing? I said, I'm painting Trina on the oil tank. I did that years ago. Oh, she passed away, and I have it by my bedside. I just cremated,
Oh, really?
and I made a home box for her. put her ashes in there, and it's right by my bed. I used to pet her, okay, Trina. That was years ago. She was a good dog. She was our, and it was Joyce's pet, yeah. Yeah, that was our Sunday school class. Yeah.
So is that like a swim team, or you just out at the pool one day?
No, we were over, that's for that, but Charlie Hinkle had that, our Sunday school teacher, he had a bungalow up in. Every year he took us, let us go over there for a week. But I never had any fun because Mom and Dad were the chaperone. And Blackie used to be with us. Yeah, there it is, those guys in the water. But one guy was my Sunday school teacher, Eddie Hyde.
Is that the
That's
one?
that's my Sunday school class only when I got older.
Was it?
Those are older people there. But that's my graduation picture when I graduated. That was my lifestyle. That was a girl I went to in high school at Ordinary. The one on the left here.
Oh, okay.
The other one is, well, you don't want to need to know the names. They're all married now, and I don't know where they are. That was the best. I was an usher at a wedding,
Ah.
and I thought everything was going to be paid. We didn't have any money, and we found out we had to pay for our tuxedos and everything. We'll be crying the blues at that. That was our first wedding, and that was a gang. Yeah, that was my part of the gang. I used to some of them. We went to Philadelphia there. We used to go down to Philly about once a month and buy suits. That was my car.
Oh yeah.
That was my fun. It was a Land Cruiser. You don't remember them, Studebaker. I really fussed with it. I took care of it.
So this one looks like you said you're on the football team.
That's football, yeah.
So that was when you were stationed.
No, that was here. That was from Pandora Park. That's where we practiced.
Oh, this was
That was a club. That was
high school?
No.
Really?
We most of the about 4 or 5 of us said that we had alarmed on it. We went out for the Reading High team, high school, but we never played. We practiced, but we never got in games. So Eddie Gillespie, the guy on the right side, he said, "Oh, you guys come on and play by the East Ends." So we play every Sunday. You just practice 1 or 2 nights a week out, but that's what we did, and that's where we played.
Okay.
And he threw dirt. He said, I want you to center. Well, you see me in the middle there. That was me in the middle.
Okay, yeah.
That was me. They needed a center. I said, I don't want to be a center. And then they said, well, try it once. And I got over the ball to snap. That was when you used the tee. That's when it started. But he was the one that warned me. The center gets pushed in your rear end all the time. He threw dirt at me and everything. But I played it cool. That didn't get me excited. He said, you're my center. So that's how I got to be a center. Yeah, that was good. Boy, I'm really remembering all this stuff now.
And here's the basketball picture.
That's basketball. That's just pickups, guys. You know, we had club leagues. We have them, still have them. That's all it was, a club league. We had a coach and everything, and we used to play a couple nights a week. Practice one. It was good. I liked to play. I was in a bad gang here for a while. Yeah. Now we weren't into dope or none of that stuff.
You never got arrested?
Almost, yeah.
Almost.
Well, this is another story. We were out here at Pendle. There was always a gang of sometimes 15 guys, and these guys, the old guys, were the caretakers. And if we're out playing ping pong and making too much noise, these guys always complained of us making too much noise. So one Sunday, I think it was a Sunday, it really had a heavy snow, and we were, how snow packs.
Mm-hmm.
We got balls. So you can see my 10 guys. We had a big ball, and one of the guys, he said, "Where's the old men now?" You always played cribbage. Do you know? Ever hear that game? It's a peg game. That's what old guys play around. You ever hear that? Didn't you? Cribbage. Mm-hmm. Well, that's what they.
I played it. It's a
Yes.
card game.
No, it's used in pegs. You use cards too, but then you move your pegs on the board. I don't know how to play it, but that's what those old guys. Anyway, the guy gives us, okay, bring it in. we opened the doors and found how many of us got this big ball of snow. And we threw it down the steps, and there was a basement down there where the locker rooms were, and it really made a mess. A lot of water, and these guys, and they knew us all. So the cops came knocking at the door part of the day. They weren't going to arrest us. We went in to see a justice of the peace, I guess. But my dad, boy, he gave me the word.
How's that?
He did it with me worse than getting arrested by a cop. But the old guys, they respected us from then. They didn't yell at us too much. They didn't know what we were going to do next. Yeah, that was fun. I still remember that. It was something. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was my mom and dad. They were good to me. Hey, that's my boot camp. That's when I got out of Paris Island. Those are DIs. I don't know where I am. I'm over there. I think the third on the bottom row is third or something. I don't know.
I wouldn't be able to tell either.
I'm there somewhere. But that was the gang, yeah.
Yeah. How old were you when you went in?
18.
Oh.
I got out of high school.
Right out of high school?
Yep.
And then what-
they were going to draft us. Kind of, they were a little worried about this Korean War. It started a little, but not much. Because I went in when they hit the reservoir up there. Then they needed men quick.
Mm.
And I was in the reserves, and that's another story.
Well, what about it? I haven't heard much about it.
Now, what do you want to hear about war? It says war.
I used to wonder why my grandfather never talked of his military experience. Now I know why. What do you want to hear about war?
You always ask somebody, what would you do in your service? Ask them. And you can tell you, well, I was some kind of, it's on a tank, or you were here or there. If they say they were in a line company, then you know they were in battle. We were in the line company, and I was in the weapons company. I used to carry the flamethrowers well, I didn't carry them. I got a rating, and I was corporal, but the minute it was in me, I had a flamethrower and a bazooka. You ever hear the bazooka, the tank?
Yeah.
It was, they're obsolete now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did. And we were always attached to a line company. If they had a bunker or something, there was some Koreans in there or something, I used to have to, not me, but then I had the bazooka for a while. They just pat you in. You got it all loaded, the guy, yeah, but I'm okay, carrier. Put it in, and then they tap me on the rear end, and they say they're okay, and I just pull the trigger. It aim it, you know.
Yeah.
But they only had dugouts. That was a lousy war. That's what I'm saying. It's nothing to talk about. It's just no good. A lot of guys got killed, wounded. No good. I don't like to worry about that.
So how old were you when you came back?
I was 20.
So 2 years you spent.
2 years.
Were you overseas all 2 years? Or?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, no, I'm getting the years mixed up now. I was in the Marine Corps when I first got out. I was 18. I was for 2 years. I was stateside. I was at the Naval Yard, shipyard, guard duty. That's what Marines did, guard duty. But then after I had my 2 years, I got discharged, and they said if you want to be in the inactive, not active, inactive, you hold your rate if you'd have it. And they gave you this. You know how things are going over in Korea. You're allowed to be called back. Then you're going to be back as a private again. You know, in the Marine Corps, that's no good. If you got a rating of corporal, you were pretty. So I signed up. But you remember Truman? Him and MacArthur. Well, that's where it started. Truman decided to make all enlistments, add another year to all enlistments, and that means inactive reserves. So I had to go back into Korea. I went back over to Korea. And that's how I got into that mess.
Wow.
Anyway. And that's that story.
I didn't know that.
Did you?
No.
There's nothing.
So you spent a year over there, and so you came back, so you're about 21, 22?
Somewhere in that. Don't pin me back in dates now.
21, 22.
got older and I got out of hand a little bit. My dad had to straighten me out a little bit. He said, either you straighten out or you find another place to live. That was when I came back from the service the first time.
Mm-hmm.
It was wild. But my dad he never said too much, and he was a cool guy, but that night he was really, I came in, I was a little drunk, and Mom wanted to get me up to church, and I couldn't get up. I still remember that. My mom was fun. Oh, you have a middle.
I didn't know what a pre-border was.
What? Stocking factory.
Well, that's,
what is
when
that?
they had, years ago, what did they call it, Brenda? Full-fashion stockings, I guess, at the Berkey. Yeah, well, you wore them, yeah. We used to put the shape into them. You had a rack of 24, and it was a heat thing, like. You had to shape them to the side and shape. And you come out of the box and you throw this over this leg. Now, if you had good stockings, when you pulled it down, it stayed down. But if you got some runs, you put it down, the bug of it bounce off. And that takes time, then you have to wet them. But you got to get to know your rack-off girls. And I got to know the rack-off girl real good. And my partner, because you work with two, when you pull this crate in, and then when this guy, the guy got to be ready. And then when you pull it out, and that's how you make. Hey, I made $100 in those days, and that's back in 48. Yeah, I got out of service in 1948. That was good money.
$100.
$100 because it was piecework. Yeah.
Wow. What about holidays growing up? You remember anything, any good stories from a holiday growing up?
Holidays.
Yeah.
Not offhand. No. I remember some bad ones. But I don't want to put.
Story's a story, right?
Yeah, it's not.
Oh, okay.
It's
You don't have to.
That's when we were on the drinking thing, and we had the trouble about drinking. Everybody was feeling good, and we were ready to leave. And Harry Braun and Elsie Hagen, I still remember the names. Elsie went to get in the car, and she had her hand up, I guess, like this, and okay, honey, and whang! Oh boy, and she broke out crying. We had to take her. We rushed her to the hospital. I can't remember. I don't know what was fractured or anything, but she really did a job. Boy, that straightened guys up quick. Boy, I said that. I had no choice. If your choice was in there. That was a New Year's Eve party.
Did you have any
See, now you brought back bad memories. No, I hated that. That was
yeah, I bet.
Elsie Hagen they both went to school in high school with me. Harry and Elsie. Yeah, I haven't thought of that for a long time.
This is my grandmother, Joyce. I don't remember much about her. She died when I was young, but I do remember playing games with her growing up. Tic-tac-toe, go fish, war. She was my Nana.
I remember you. You're the one who made my dreams come true. A few kisses ago. I remember too. You're the one who said I love you too. I do. Didn't you know? Stars that fell like rain out of the blue. When my life is through and the angels ask me to recall the thrill of them all, then I shall tell them I remember you.
So how'd you meet? I've never heard the story of how you met your wife.
Your grandmother?
Yeah, my grandmother.
No, I don't want to tell you that. It was at a club. Remember the Ingy Pingies, I believe it was one of them. Yeah, it was someone Faulkner. Well, it's, you know, you remember Yes, don't you? Chet.
Yeah.
Well, he used to be a good musician. Well, he still is, but he's in bad shape. And he used to play at these clubs, and he'd get us guys in. And Joyce and us, she was in there with another couple. And I knew she'd come from Mount Penn. Well, anyway, that's where I met her. I knew her before, but I said, can I have a date? You know, we made a date. And that was our first date in Inverminovi. About a year or two, I think it was 2 years, we got married.
Yeah.
Because we both, you give her a drink and she'd last her all night. She wasn't a drinker, and neither was I. Because no booze in my house, and you know, my mom and dad, that's no booze, no smoking. But I was with a bunch of guys, and then I'd drink and I'd get sick. Then everybody, when you go to the diner, everybody's drinking eating hamburgers and French. All I could do was drink black coffee. I couldn't drink. I just can't. And it was only beer now, no whiskey. I can never get down whiskey, but I wasn't a drinker, never was. Well, I was never around. You know, some people have booze around our house all the time, but none in my house. And we never had in this one either. Once in a while, for occasions, other than that.
How you enjoy like your courting, your dating, what you guys did, some of the fun things you did.
That's a little personal.
Well,
No.
well, not that personal. Like some of the dates you went on, like some of the places you went to.
Well, I can remember one, and that's I think the second date we went on. There was a couple that she worked with. Joyce was a dental hygienist. She worked in it for a dentist, well, you know, the names don't mean nothing. And she told me, her dad knew a Penn Dor was a lot of bad actors down there. And she said, you know, I'm going on a date with Ollie Sands, and right away, why are you going out with? You know, he didn't want that at all. But then Joyce talked to him, well, we're going with another couple. And then he said, well, okay. So we went with another couple. And we went down, and Harry said, I know a place to go where we can dance and have a good time. And if we get a few drinks or something, we come and just sit and talk. It was right down that, well, you pass it all at, you know where Wendy's used to be? And then it's down a little bit. Anyway, it was a gay place. Maybe you remember that, I don't know if you, I think a couple of times we would die, and I showed you, this is a gay place for. Anyway, this is where we went in. And we're in there, and we're dancing, and then all of a sudden Harry poked me in the shoulder and said, hey, what goes around here? We're the only couples that are dancing. Everybody's these guys or there's women together. They don't. And we find out, hey, it was a gay place. Harry said, let's get out. Well, he didn't say, he said a few words. He said, because he was driving. I remember that. Then we went into the 10th and Penn with the Legion there. I was sure of that. That was a nice place. I told him, Harry, that was your idea to go in there. I wasn't familiar with it. And that's when gays they're in a, well, you know, now, that means nothing.
Yeah.
How's the gay problem out there, Arizona? I can ask you some questions now, isn't it? Becky, I had the best mother-in-law. I always said that, tell everybody. You know, in my job, I worked in the underground in Reading. And I had a crew, and usually I'm standing up at the top. And I seen Becky, I'll tell you this, I seen Becky coming down Penn Street. You know how she was, she hated to be. And she was with another woman, and she saw me, Ollie, so she comes up, Becky! I called her Becky, that was what she wanted anyway. And this is going back now. Boy, this is going back when I'm still working and everything. And then I said, hey guys, come up. There was 3 guys in the whole work, and I said, come up, I want you to meet somebody. And they all 3 came, had a ladder, that holes are about 7 feet. Enough for you could stay, maybe 8 feet. They're staying in the work to splice cables and everything. Mm-hmm. So the 3 guys came, they didn't know what was going on. They came up, I said, hey, I want you to meet somebody. And Becky stood there and she said, what are you going to do? I said, nothing. I said, I want to show you guys, this is the best mother-in-law you could ever have. And then she, oh, Ollie. You remember how she was? She'd go, oh, Ollie. She was the nicest mother-in-law. She was perfect. Yeah, I still remember that. And the guys all came up and they gave her a hug. I don't know, I had a good crew then. That was right on Penn Street. That's when Penn Street was busy. You wouldn't know it to this day. It was altogether different. It was altogether different. Brenda knows. She knows how it was.
Well,
years ago.
I ran into you every once. I worked when you were working down there on Penn Street, and I was. A couple times at lunchtime, you'd be sitting with your crew, and I'd come out of the bank and run into you.
Did you? No, no.
Oh,
Did I talk to you what? What? Or did you? I thought maybe you didn't. I didn't see you. I don't even. I can't. How do you bump into?
before we were engaged. So I was just
Oh,
wanted to
well,
close.
well. The only time I remember you was from swimming.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember. I don't. I used to bump into a lot of people.
Other than playing sports and liking music, did you have any other hobbies when you were young?
Working
Working? Where'd you work when you were
right
younger?
here. No, there was nothing in here at all when we moved in here. Nothing. This was just nothing. No homes, no nothing. There was only these two homes in the building.
Oh,
And
really?
he lost his money. And he didn't have any more money. He went bankrupt. So we all got the house for a son, but the house wasn't done. No landscaping. Nothing here. You don't believe the work I've, like I told you before. For every stone you see here, there might be at least 20 laying under the ground. Remember I told you, you know how to build a wall. And I worked here. We had our arguments. She wanted to go here. I gave her, well, if you want to run around, then I'll never get the place. Because I had to build the attic, was nothing. I had to put that in. And everything in the kitchen and that stuff came later as the years went by. Boy, I goofed up in that kitchen. I realize that now. You see where the stove is now? The stove was all real over in the corner. And Joyce wanted a little nook like I'd made. That's what she wanted. With the dishwasher and everything in there. Everything was right. But if she only take one step and she could do everything. That's what she wanted. And I tried to do it for her. And, you see, being that the stove was at the other end, that receptacle's by it. Remember the receptacle I have here by the stove? That was a no-no. I even praised and put that's a bad place. It is, it's true. That's why I put that G&W switch in there, but now I'm taking that out. I'm going to put a fault. See, I need that switch in there for them lights. I put new lights in, the lights. I need the lights switched, but I don't need the receptacle there. I'm going to move that over where the microwave is. I'll put the G&W in there. And that's a good distance away from the sink. I don't think I need any more.
Yeah, they do. Everyone I
I don't know. They got, because I had receptacles up there, I had a receptacle over here, I had receptacle over. But you know what they cost? Switches. And it's a lot of work putting them in. So I eliminated them, I cut them out. Now if I wanted to cut them up, I'd have to go from here. Just 1.25. Because I knew I wasn't going to be here long. Let the next guy be. Once everybody buys this up, hey, once we get things set and it's your home, what you got to do? The wires are up there. Just hook up a receptacle. And then you can just, you can put your electric thing up there and you can cut the grass. Because you got grass up there to cut. Not a lot.
Where does your property end?
Well, you were up to the road.
Oh, right up to the edge.
Oh, we
of
have
it?
that small, but it's enough. You've got to.
Yeah.
That's why I asked Brady about it. Does it need cleaning? Now, Rick cut this whole bank for me when he was here on Memorial Day.
Hmm.
And it was pretty high. But I guess, I don't know, was they sitting out there pretty soon? I see him getting his clothes on. Where you going? He said, I'm going to get that bank for you. By golly, he got it. I did it. Because he was the guy, when they were small, Brady had that half and he had this half. I split it up, and they had to clean the bank. Brady was always fussy. I always knew which guy did. Rick was zip, zip, zip. But he always was fussy with stuff. But I told Rick yesterday, hey, you did a good job. He did. He made he had that blank perfect. But I still remember. He laughed when I told him to say, hey, you did a good job. Now, you know how you guys, when you first got married and had your first boy and everything, now you were pretty well set pretty good. There's me. That's how we were. We didn't even have, we only had an old rocking chair to sit on. But we didn't have too much. And as was George, that's when we moved into the house. In this house, this is this house, same house.
This one?
This was, yep. I don't know what year it was. Yep. Everybody wanted to give us furniture and stuff. Well, we'll get it when we get the money. That's what that's. Do your kids like to rock? Oh, well, I should have rocked him, man. I'm a rocker, as you can see. They weren't rockers, I know, looking pretty. See, there I had the patio here. This is really, they brought one of the little pool I had for them. And then when I come home from work, I'd get in there. I'd take my pants off and get in with them. That was before. Then later, as the years went by, then we joined Antietam. You ever done it? Yeah, you were in that pool already. Sure, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where we went then. And we lived in there for quite a few years. We got hung in there. There's Freddie playing with a turtle. I think that's Freddie. These pictures of your dad now and your uncle Rick. Because you can see it's pretty well, because I had most of the last thing I did here was build this wall, and that looked like the wall was finished. Well, and I had the patio in too. Yeah, these are just pictures now, Christmas. Well, those are all the baby. That's all of the Rick and Freddie in there. I bet you, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's not much more of me in there. Remember that one? I think Brenda knows her. The Zelinskis. Did you?
Mm-hmm. Zoanne? Yeah.
Do you know? I can't remember. Did she pass away?
You mean the whole family?
The whole
Yeah.
family?
Parents.
Well, Coop's still alive, I know. Anyway, it was Coop and me, and this was Rick and I was. Rick was what, 15 years old. He was one, because that's why we drove. He didn't have his drivers, he didn't have a car, neither did anybody. They were all high school kids.
I know
And
exactly.
they played in a band. And it was pretty good music. Yeah, Freddie, he was well known around the school. So Coop had a group in the car, and there was three of us. And the other guy was you just went to see the guy, Rick, when he was here. That was it. He walked right by me, and I didn't remember him. Anyway, that's another. Anyway, we got together, and Coop said, "How many are you taking?" I said, "Well, I'm going to take Rick and another guy." That's when I had a Volkswagen, and I had a carrier on the top, so I could put his guitar and a few other things, tie them down, and then we were off. And then the Coop told me, he said, the guy told me to meet us at Bixler's. That's another place. I don't know. Well, it's a place where it's on the road to where we had to go. And so we got going along, and this was daylight yet, and this was in the summertime. Oh, maybe it might have been in the spring. Anyway, we went up, and I'm traveling around it. I worked in the line gang when I first started, and I got around all the country. I mean, I got around pretty, and I'm going up, I thought, this place looks familiar to me. So we traveled a little bit, and I looked over, there was an old guy and a woman, bare nude, sitting on the front porch with a rocker. I said, I know where we're at. He said, nudist colony. Rick said, well, I didn't know that. You know, way nobody knew nothing. Well, I don't think the kids did know it. You think they did, Brady? I don't think they knew it. Anyway, so we go. But it was funny, you know, some of the women, you know, they're old, and the boobies are hanging out, and Rick said the only thing I hated to go past them. they had to get past them to get into the hall where they were entertaining. But these are older, a lot of them, there was no young, well, at least I didn't see any real young, they were playing volleyball. Now these are women, and maybe they were my age, but they were a little older for Rick and them, because these kids are only, but the people, when we came back for them at night, but we left, but as Coop said, boy, we got to get back here, we're good time, we want to see what's going on. So we left early to go, but when we got there, the whole thing was all cleaned up, everybody had clothes on. Rick said that they cleaned up pretty late. They had a good time, though. And then the women who were in charge said, your boys were real good. They acted real nice, and so Rick said we had a good time. Everybody was friendly to us. They gave us a little lunch, and but that was when they said when we used to have to pass them. It was a narrow doorway, and these women, big women, are standing there, and they had to pass them through with a guitar. I had a laugh when Rick told me. I still remember that. Yeah, they were. Oh, you were. Was that around the high school? Pretty good, wasn't it? What? About them being in this nudist camp.
I don't remember if it was got around to school or not.
Yeah, well, everybody knew. I used to hear, "Hey, how's your kid doing? Is he still playing the nudist camps?" Yeah, that was good. Yeah, Rick played a lot of club. Rick made some good money. Yeah.
She's giving me ideas about what to ask you.
I knew you better cut that out.
She wants to hear about what you remember from like your birthdays, how you spent your birthdays growing up, what you usually did.
Mom and Dad, they weren't into that too much.
No.
Happy birthday and things, but I think we had for these kids. We always had it when we took you down to bowling alleys. You remember I remember that time, because Rick was funny. I don't know what happened, but I had to take him outside and calm him down a little bit. He didn't like to be active, I guess. So I don't know what it was. Remember that, Bertie? Because we had it for both of you. One year when you was your time and 1 year. And we used to have when Bud and Becky used to come down here. We had your birthday parties. We always had parties for them. Not just like you did. Nothing elaborate, just the family. That's enough.
Did you have any good traditions?
Back memories, huh?
Any good traditions for the holidays that your parents did every Christmas or every Easter? Any tradition? Something they always did?
Well, I'll tell you something about my dad. I guess I don't know if you ever seen Christmas yards, but they used to have contests. Did you ever see my dad's Christmas yard, Brady? What?
I'm not sure.
Why you're not sure? Well, you know our living room. That went from the dining room all the way into the door, and then you had room to walk. He had about, and I'm saying trains, he had big trains. He had about 3 of them running, and he had a few too. All on the transform, he had everything hooked up. And on the one end, he'd build a big fake mountain. He was in the contest. They used to go around. I don't think he won any prizes, but around Christmas time, that was a big thing back in. Well, I don't know. I was only a kid. The only thing I got mad at that, he wouldn't let me run it. That's why when they were small, I remember that. I put the Christmas down as there it is, play with it. I didn't care if they wrecked it or what they did, but my dad was fussy. But them engines, he had big engines. They was worth money. I don't know. I gave them away even. Somebody told me, you're crazy. A guy at work, and he was a nice guy, and he didn't have a couple. Well, anyway, he was into the hobby. I said, hey, I'm going to give you some good engines, and I did. Boy, he was tickled. Every time I went quick, boy, they're running good, Ollie, you know. And yeah, that was enough for payment for me. I was glad to give him. But that was my dad. My mom was always there making, mom and dad. We were a home family, and church. Mom in the choir there. She had choir, prayer meeting Wednesday, and then there was always something. Dad used to complain now and then. Dad was, when his younger days, he was quite, you see that picture of him, you see that little derby he had on? He was quite, he said, Mom used to kid about when they made love, they used to go up the cliffs up in the Chipperola and the Birdsboro with a horse and buggy. I also would kid her about, hey, were you up at the Tombstones lately, Mom? I still remember. Isn't that something? They were good parents. But that's what they did. They had their horse and buggy back in their day. And, yeah, that's real. I still remember that. Well, you were at that cemetery, weren't you, Freddie? Up on the top of it's in the Chipperola.
Yeah, we've been there, yeah.
I don't know what they call it anymore.
Who's up there?
That's where all of my grandparents and grandmom and Aunt Irene and all.
I think so.
Yeah, well, that's where they're buried.
You're not talking about Schwartzwald
No,
Cemetery or Jacksonwald.
no.
No, Gibraltar.
You go in
That's
Chipperola, go across the railroad tracks, and you go, and there's a church sitting high up in the mountain. Like, you know, you got to go up a steep
Okay.
hill. You got to go up a steep hill, and it's to the right. Because I used to take my mom and Aunt Irene over there not every Saturday, but I used to get so tired of taking them to the cemetery. And then Mom used to pull one of those roses that give you little ants all the time. She'd pick them out of her garden and she'd put them in my trunk, and then I'd have ants all over the car.
And that's it. We spent well over an hour talking about his life, looking through photos, and sharing stories together. I really hope that you enjoyed this as much as I did. I tried hard to make this more than just some interview. And in all reality, I can't end this any better than Ollie did. So without further ado, I will let Ollie end his own movie.
That's about my life story, up to this time.